Hello friends, this is Angelica. Thanks for joining me here on the Greeteries YouTube channel. Today I'm going to introduce a few new products coming to the Greetery shop this week, and I'm going to show how I put together this card. So we're going to start with the new Flourished Phrases Birthday Stencil Set. This is a 3-piece stencil set, and there will be an illustration on the back of the packaging to show you what the stencils do. And then there is a coordinating die set sold separately that will die cut the illustrated scene or the birthday letters. I've already stenciled a panel off screen, and I did not realize that there are some pieces in this stencil that will lift up. So I wanted to show you what happens if you're not paying attention to that. I did get a lot of extra ink on the panel. So I sprayed the back of this stencil with pixie spray, which is a repositionable adhesive. And before I put this stencil with the spray on top of my panel, I did push that stencil onto printer paper, like a scratch piece of paper, and push that into the paper a few times just to get the excess adhesive off of the stencil before I put it on my panel. Now that I have it on my panel, I did want the word happy to be a different color than the birthday letters, so I masked the area around happy off, and then I used saltwater taffy to ink the word happy, and now I have that word masked off, and I'm going to do the birthday letters. I'm going to ink them with salvage patina. I have this sped up pretty quickly, but I am taking care when I'm around those areas that will lift up, even though I still have that, well, I have the adhesive on the back of the stencil. I am still making sure I'm being careful around those edges so I don't have to re-stencil this panel again. I did make sure I had a really nice heavy layer of this color down on the panel before I lift the stencil up. And now we're going to move on to the second stencil. The second stencil is going to add the drop shadow next to the birthday letters. And I'm using abandoned coral for the red to emphasize that drop shadow. Now, I did accidentally put my sponge dauber with all that red ink on it into my salvage patina ink pad. I don't know why I did that. It was just a big mistake, and I did have to clean up my salvage patina ink pad because it had a nice big bright red stain right in the middle of that pad. So note to self, make sure to put lids on top of the ink pads once finished so I don't do that again. The third stencil will add the flourish design, and I picked dried marigold to ink over this third stencil. There were 2 other stencils released earlier this year of the Flourished Phrases. There was one for hello and love, and along with those stencils came the airmail border stencil, which is a 2-piece stencil set. So I wanted to see if that border would fit around this stencil set too, and it does. So I'm going to just quickly stencil a border, and I'm going to use saltwater taffy and salvage patina just to keep the colors the same on this panel. And that way you can see what this stencil looks like with the airmail border. I love just the little bit of extra color that this border gives to the panel. And if you like to do flat mail, this is such an easy panel to put together. So that's the introduction to the Flourished Phrases Birthday. Now we're going to move on to the Celebration Streamers Stamp and Stencil Set. So you have a 6x6 red rubber stamp and then 3 stencils. There's stencils to add color to the ribbon, and then a confetti stencil. We're going to start with the confetti stencil, and I actually see this stencil as a freebie in this set because I used this stencil on several cards. It just gives a really lovely party scene background, and it's really easy to use, and if you use a lighter color, then the backgrounds are just really subtle. So that's what I did on this panel. I stenciled with a really light peach ink, and I'm going to use that same ink to stamp the streamers onto the panel. And when I'm doing a big background stamp like this, I do like to stamp on my grid paper first in my MISTI. That way I can position my panel exactly where I want the image to be on my panel, and then stamp it. So since this ink is pretty light, I am going to stamp twice so I have a good impression. And then I'm going to bring in the other two stencils from this set to add some color to the streamers. So I did go up one ink color in this ink family. This is Pink Fresh Studio inks, to add orange to the first stencil, which is going to do every other ribbon. And the second stencil will do the other ribbons, and I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to bring in a red ink. And to line up these stencils, it's the easiest way to do it is to line up the bottom of the ribbon on the stencil to the bottom of the stamped images. And that way it's super easy to find out which ribbons go for each stencil. So I'm going to be using Berrylicious Pink Fresh Studio ink, and again I'm just going to speed this up and get a nice heavy layer of this ink on top of the peach ink. And since this is pretty close to each other on the color wheel, these two colors, that red ink just laid beautifully on top of the peach ink, and now I'm going to have orange and red streamers on my background. How cute is that? So now I want to add the sentiment. I did die cut white cardstock with the birthday die, and I just did a quick placement of those letters on the panel, and I want to stencil happy above those letters. I do have my panel on a Waffle Flower Crafts grip mat, and that's what's going to help me keep this stencil in place. I'm again going to mask off the areas around the word happy, and I'm going to use Berrylicious ink again and a small blending brush to add the ink over the word. And I'm making sure I'm putting a pretty heavy hand of ink down so that red will match the red on the ribbons. I'm going to get the stencil off of this panel and then swap the grip mat out for my Make Art station. This is a metal board. I think it's a 12 by 12, but it comes with magnets and it comes with a 0 center magnet ruler. And I'm going to use that 0 center ruler to make sure that I'm adding my letters on straight and I'm spacing them out evenly. I had already played with placement of the letters before I had stenciled happy, so I was able to just skip over that on screen. It did take me a few minutes to figure out how I wanted to place these letters and not have to make like a slimline card, because these letters are really swirly. So that's why I put them at different... I staggered them. That way the swirls can go above or below the next letter. And I just really like how this turned out. So once I got that last letter, oh, and I also die cut red glitter paper, and I glued those letters onto the white cardstock that I had die cut earlier. So once I was done with this panel, I attached it to a card base, and that is going to finish the card and this video. You will find more details on these products and the rest of the products in the Confetti Encore collection over on the Greeteries blog, so be sure to head over there. This is the 5th anniversary celebration for the Greetery also, so there's lots of giveaways to check out too. So be sure to head over there, and all of these products will be in the Greetery shop April 26th. That is all that I have for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Take care, friends.